world. My name is Max Stein, and I think video games are okay.
Oh, I'm the Megabuck, and I love video games.
I'm Raph. I also love video games.
Rock, video games. Rock, Vinny here, guys. Good to see you. Happy Friday.
Okay, and welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we talk treasured video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Okay. Why do I keep saying that?
What is going on right
I see
now?
what he's doing now.
Holy
That
shit.
took me a
Because this
second.
week we're talking Wave Race 64. That's
We
right,
don't
we're
even know
living
what
it
he's
up.
doing, guys.
We're doing
it's
full
fine.
summary. I'll get to it. I'll get to it when we get to Wave Race.
I
Because
was
You
it
are
worried
has
he was
4
having a
seconds
stroke,
ahead.
honestly.
one of the best announcers in racing game history that mostly says one thing, which is
Okay.
okay.
As long as you're not having a stroke, we're good.
He
Yeah,
says
there was
it-
a brief moment there. I was like, "Oh my god, is Mac okay?"
You might need to go check
I'm
out. the
okay.
He's like, "Okay."
We are soaking up the sun. We wanted to do something with summertime, and I was brainstorming with these guys. And at first, Buck said, "What about Mario Sunshine?" And I said, "Ooh, that sounds pretty good." But then randomly, a hair came in, and I said, "No, Wave Race."
Wait,
What a great
Race
pick, man. Hell yeah.
64.
Wave Race is
I'm
so
glad that
great.
we did Wave Race. Yeah,
And
Wave
honestly-
Race is amazing.
Me too. I thought to myself, well, I think Mario Sunshine might have more stuff in it to talk about. Maybe, but oh man, Wave Race, I remember it being so good when I was younger, but maybe that was just nostalgia, but nope, it's actually really, really fucking good still to this day.
Yeah, it
And
really
I'm
is.
glad we picked it.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, as per usual, the Megabuck and RetroGameTreasure.com are going to take us back in time with this week's Retro Zone. Buck, activate the time engines.
Let's go back in time. An R&D 4 Miyamoto produced racing game? That's kind of weird, but I'm not talking about Wave Race, because as you'll find out today, that's not as unique as you thought it was. With cute little claymation box art for the Super Nintendo, Stunt Race FX was one of the
Yeah.
6 FX chip
Fantastic
games.
game.
I love that game.
Very,
Holy
very
crap.
good.
Bro.
I've got a cart here for you showing off too. Yeah, absolutely. I even bring games on vacation, which is almost done. Boo hoo hoo.
This man
Stunt
is
Race
dedicated.
FX. That's right. God damn Skippy.
It's a great game.
Stunt Race FX, or Wild Tracks,
Whoa.
as it's known in Japan, was released in 1994. It's one of only 6 FX chip games that were released in the U.S. for the SNES. There were 2 others that they got in Europe that we didn't get, but they were like a dirt track game and a skiing game. It looked really weird. What do you guys think about Stunt Race FX?
I fucking love Stunt Race FX. As a kid, the little faces on the cars.
Yes.
As a child, watching your older brother play video games, one of the main things that you can do is just say, pick that guy. Now be that guy. Now do that. That's
sound
all you
like
can do.
You sound like my son right now.
I know that.
Yes.
In Final Fantasy, it was
Oh,
put that
man.
weapon on, because when you change weapons in
Do
Final
that
Fantasy,
spell.
when you actually swing them, and then it would be Buck going, "No, that weapon's not as good as the weapon I have." And I go, "I don't care. I want to see it." And Stunt
But it
Race,
looks so cool.
Stunt
Show
Race-
it to me.
Stunt Race FX is the same thing, but with racing game.
Yes.
So be that car. No, that car doesn't. I don't like. Shut up. Be that car. He has crazy
Be the
googly eyes,
monster
and I
truck.
want to see his.
Be the monster truck.
I haven't played it in years and years and years, so I'm not entirely sure how it holds up necessarily. But as far as nostalgia goes, it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
It's my first time even seeing this game.
Oh gosh,
Really?
really?
Yeah.
Nani the
I'm
fuck?
watching gameplay right now,
Okay.
and it
Yeah.
is
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. So you've got like Buck said, you got the FX chip, and for Super
Mhm.
Nintendo that meant
3D
polygon
racetracks.
characters,
Right,
3D,
yeah.
exactly. So you've got like
Not the
this,
tires, but yeah.
this. Right, you've got this Star Fox kind of look going on. A little grainy,
Mhm.
but that was it was the fashion at the time, and
It-
it was just so charming. It was so fun. It was so fun.
Old Benny yells
It
at
was
Cloud.
grainy, but we always talk about the retrospective glasses and thinking about when I was
Yes.
what, 9 when this game came out or
Yes.
something? Like, not even. I was 7. Like, this was mind blowing. It was the cars were in
Well,
3D and they
dude.
have faces.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of
Right.
here.
You know, we had the anti-aliasing that would be on like CRT TVs, and it kind of would have looked like it would have probably looked fucking amazing,
Yes.
honestly.
It's very
so
Star Fox.
it's fun to bring this because, like you guys are just saying, the nostalgia goggles. We will find out as we talk about it. Wave Race 64 held up a lot better than Stunt Race FX did to the annals of
Yeah,
time.
I didn't want to cut ahead, but I also thought that same thing, which is that I don't know how it holds up, which I said,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it
No,
would
it
hold up
didn't.
as good as Wave
But
Race.
I tell you what, though, was fun about this game. So you had actually 4 different choices of cars. The fourth one, the motorcycle, was a hidden character. But you had the F1 car, you had the coupe, and you had the monster truck. Funny enough, in the Japanese commercial, the coupe was the only car that was represented as female, and the rest being male, which is kind of fun anecdote. So for the most part, at its core, it's a racing game with a turbo boost, and you pick up Star Fox looking things to get turbo boost. That's the gist of the game. The draw distances had left something to be desired, but one of my favorite modes in this game was the bonus levels where you drove as the semi truck. You drove as a semi-tractor trailer.
Fuck, memory unlocked. Holy
Yes.
shit,
I
dude.
forgot about that, dude. Nice call.
And because the game is like a third person over the shoulder most of the time, but the tractor trailer is too big to do that, you almost drive at like an isometric, like cockeyed 45% view to drive the tractor trailer. You had to drive through a bunch of like almost way station looking things, and you got bonuses and you gain extra lives, because in this game, if you lost a race, it just cost you a life. You could retry a race.
And you may have already said this. What year did this come out? I'm sorry.
This was 1994. It was released.
94.
Yeah.
God, so yeah, I was 4 years old. I'm pretty sure that if I saw this, my fucking brain
Right.
blew out the back of my skull.
The cute little cars and the graphics, the 3D graphics.
Between
so the one
this
thing,
and what was the game where you race as the unicycles for the Super Nintendo?
Uniracers.
Just those 2 games were like,
Uniracers,
yay, like racing games for children.
It was fun. It was fun. So
yeah.
the one thing that's probably a killer to this game, as much as it was good, it took them a while to put it out. It actually released after the PS1 had come out, and after, I believe, the first Ridge Racer had come out on the PlayStation 1.
Wow.
Which is
Huge
obviously a much
competition.
better
that's
racing
rough.
game than Stunt Race FX. So it was,
That's
but
nice. That's a nice pick there. That's interesting though. So this is a racing game. I'm thinking preferences settings for retrogametreasure.com. It's a racing game, but it certainly is not a simulating racer. It's a cartoon racer. What kind of properties you got to pick?
So we have racing as a separate category. Racing games are separate from sports, separate from fun sports, separate from all those different things, because racing really is, when it's a pure racing game at heart, not like a Tony Hawk where you're doing tricks and you have a timer. You're actually going from point A to point B faster than the other guy. It's a racing game. But we also we let you choose like subgenres, like subcategories you're okay with. We talked about them before, like sci-fi, fantasy, superheroes. Cartoon is one of the cartoon and anime actually are 2 of the categories you can pick from. So if you picked racing and cartoon, that's how you get Stunt Race FX for the Super Nintendo.
For the Super Nintendo cartoon racing. I love it.
Right?
Well, shoot,
Nice.
if you have a Super Nintendo and you've never played Stunt Race FX, Raph, I'm looking at you here.
Yeah,
you gotta give it a fucking shot, dude. It's
Hell
a
yeah.
hilarious ass racing game, and I would love to see if it holds up. I just want to see that beautiful yellow car with his big old googly eyes again. Okay, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get into our main subject for today, Wave Race 64. Be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to talk about Wave Race 64. As I mentioned before, I wanted to play a game that accentuates summer. We live in Florida. Buck's at the beach. We went there last week. If you watched last week's episode, I played Wipeout in the beginning just to accentuate how into summer mode we all are. This game, when I had that, Wave Race 64 moment, the thing that came to mind is the beautiful crystal blue water of this intro scene that I would like to play for us right now.
Yes.
Oh. Look at this amazing intro. The year is 1996. The PlayStation is out, but all of its racing games, for the most part, have cars in them. They have Wipeout. Wipeout came out the year before this game. But in Wipeout, you're a car. It's got this grimy look. Look at how Nintendo friendly this is. The crystal clear blue water with the dolphin racing. You got the sweet little shacks on stilts and the ramps. The barrel roll. Everything about this game screams, this is Nintendo, but also this is cool.
Nintendo's cool, kids. Wave Race.
Nintendo's very cool.
Wave Race 64. Developed and published by Nintendo, of course, in 1996. The same year as Mario 64, I'll have you mind. Every bit of research I did on this game said this game did as much legwork to bring video games into the 3D space as Mario 64 did.
Yeah,
In
great
particular
launch title.
Nintendo,
If you were not around, if you did not have a 64 when you were a kid and you did not experience turning this on and having the camera spin all the way around the racer, then you do not quite understand what it was like to have your mind absolutely blown by that intro that I just played. Buck, you did some research into the history of Wave Race 64. You told us before we started recording, but I saved all of this. We're hearing all of this with each other for the first time. We're sharing it because it's best that way. What did you find in regards to the history of this fantastic, unique wave racer?
Found a little I knew, found a little that I didn't know. But one of the fun things that I just mentioned before was Stunt Race FX. R&D 4 pumped out the division that Miyamoto headed up, pumped out most of the launch titles for pretty much every Nintendo console for a long time, which also includes Wave Race. So another racing game that Miyamoto helped make. So you have to go back a little bit. Wave Race 64, believe it or not, is a sequel to 1992's Wave Race for the Game Boy, the original Game Boy.
Whoa.
Right.
I did not know this. That's fucking awesome.
Seriously.
And if you've ever
That's
played
brand
it,
new to me.
if you've ever played Wave Race for the Game Boy, then you are well aware that it sucks.
Tight.
It
Did
is
it not
so.
make a splash, Buck?
No, it didn't. It made
More of a
zero
dribble.
splashes, and it probably had to do with the fact that, like, while you were playing the game, it had no music whatsoever, only in the menus. No, it was really about
Jesus.
the controls. Yeah, it was really about the controls. If you've ever played
It was like a
RC Pro
top-down
Am,
game.
yes, it was a top-down game. If you ever played like RC
Yeah.
Pro Am, or if you're really familiar with Game Boy and NES stuff, if you've ever played Micro Machines, especially the Game Boy version of Micro Machines,
I did.
Yes.
which is a
did.
top-down racer where you have really slidey physics. Wave Race has that kind of stuff. It definitely has the sliding physics of kind of being on a wave runner, but that's kind of where like
I
the
wanted
fun,
to talk about that more later for sure.
Yeah, but that's kind of where the fun stops for the original Wave Race. It did okay. It sold okay. It sold enough for them to consider doing other things. So when the N64 was being developed, the story goes, it's pretty cool behind this, is Miyamoto again was heading up and they wanted to do something that had to do with like water and boats and something like that. It was originally intended to feature high-speed transforming boats that could go from like a canoe to do like straights to like a catamaran to do like tight turns and what like that too.
A la like F-Zero, right?
Right.
Yes, like F-Zero originally.
Transforming F-Zero.
Yes, but like Mac was just saying, games like Wipeout had been out and some of those other games too. And so they started to go, man, Miyamoto was worried, especially this might be a little bit too many other games. And it was actually the founder, one of the co-founders of Rare, Tim Stamper, who suggested to Miyamoto, why don't you make it jet skis? You know, it's the 90s.
That's so
jet skis are
awesome.
popular.
That's wild.
There's not really a lot of great games like that. You want to show off the water and you want to make it like a single man vehicle, and you already have that in a jet ski. And so they changed it to basically be a follow up to Wave Race completely.
And that perfectly sums up why the game is good. Not to cut you off, I'll let you continue, but just like
No,
the exactly what you said. That sounds too much like other games.
yeah.
What if we made a game that's just whoops ass and is unlike anything else? Like, I love that. Go on.
Let's
Sorry.
make it different to
No.
make it different, right?
Yeah.
Well, Miyamoto, in his ever existing wisdom that we all know about, was smart enough to go. The water physics makes this different. You know, they had made jet ski games before, for especially the Super Nintendo had a couple of Kawasaki and other games like that. And some of them are okay if you really like racing or you really like, you know, water sports, but they didn't capture. I'm sure he played on those water physics like one time in a tech demo. Was like, gosh, this is so beautiful. That
Yeah.
jump
Yep.
from 2D to 3D with those water physics. That's what made this work. And Wave Race went on to sell 3 million units. This game did. It since came out on the Wii Virtual Console when it came out. They did release two versions in Japan. They released the Wave Race Shindo version, which they added Rumble Pack capabilities to. Because remember, Rumble Pack's not a launch feature.
Yeah.
And Time Trial Ghosts. The loading times were a little bit faster as well too. And notably, something that jumps out to all of us is kind of interesting. When they re-released it on the Wii Virtual Console, there are Kawasaki billboards all over the place in this game because Kawasaki was a
Right.
sponsor of the original game.
Right.
Because that license deal had ran out, they pulled those billboards out and replaced them with like Nintendo logos and other things, which made you go,
Interesting.
whoa, wait a minute. You guys can edit the code of the original Wave Race to put it up on this digital platform?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
It
So
was
that
the
was
be-
only in the Wii shops version, you're
right,
saying.
right.
That's
And so
so
that's
funny.
to say things like, you know, I guess maybe the precursor to being able to add like their Switch Online capabilities and add rewinding and other features like that. But they actually
And
changed
Buck, you
something
probably
in the game.
didn't something similar happen to the billboards in one of the Mario karts? Like they were sponsored by Texaco or something, and then they like changed them to
Marlboro.
just say Mario.
Yeah,
It was
the
something
Marlboro
like
ones,
that.
Yeah.
I think it was it not Marlboro, or is that like just a meme that's caught me off guard more than once?
No, one of these had like a fake Marlboro ad, and I can't remember
Oh, yes.
which one it was.
My
not going
Ario Row
crazy.
or something.
There's something
Yeah.
like that. Like they were sponsored by a real life racing something or
Yeah.
cigarettes or something like that. And they changed the
Laramie
billboards. That's
cigarettes. Those are the big ones from The Simpsons.
It's funny because I spent my time this week playing it on the Switch Virtual Console, and like it has the Kawasaki billboards in there there again.
Probably just
which is
renewed the
pretty
license
interesting.
at that point. Yeah, I didn't talk about it.
Maybe, yeah, right.
The weirdest thing with the history of this game is like, so we got the first one for Game Boy. It doesn't really count, but it exists.
Right.
We got the one for the N64 in '96, and then not very long after, 2001, we got Wave Race Blue Storm for the GameCube. We have
Right.
not gotten a Wave Race game since then.
No.
Nintendo,
No, we
excuse
haven't.
me. Nintendo did renew the license in 2016 or 14, I
Oh,
believe.
there you go. There
So,
you go.
but that's
Really?
also been like 8 or 10 years since they renewed the
Right.
Oh
license.
wow.
Mr. Venecor, did you have an N64 growing up?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you have-
I was a day one N64 kid. Like,
So did
No
you have
question.
Wave Race 64 in your collection?
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And what were
I-
your thoughts on Wave Race 64?
You know, a lot of what I think has already been said. It was just such a mind-blowing experience from like the very first moment you turned the console on. It was like, what is this gorgeous beach, and look at this water, and oh my god, there's a dolphin. Holy shit. You know,
Riding alongside the dolphins.
Because-
yeah.
Yeah.
well, but you got to remember, it's all a product of the times, right? You know, I
Yeah.
remember when we played Super Mario World for the first time and said, "Oh my God, these are the greatest graphics I've ever seen in my life. I don't see how it's ever going to be better than this." You know, so during that
Right.
period of rapid development in technology for video games, Wave Race was huge because it was the most beautiful water we had ever seen in our freaking lives so far. And it's like, how is this ever going to get better? You know, and I love that. I
Mhm.
love that about growing up with video games, because we would always say that. It was like the party line. How is this ever?
Yeah.
How is this ever going to get better? And guess what? It
The
just
graphics.
kept
N64
getting better.
Hulk Hogan is the graphics.
I will say this though. Oh my god, I will say this though. The gameplay of Wave Race, like the actual gameplay, and the way it was, it had these buoys, and you had to. It was either pointing to the left or pointing to the right, and you had to, you know, drift left, drift right, kind of like in a slalom sort of pattern. And if you followed the pattern, you got a boost, and then if you hit the maximum, the announcer would say maximum power, and you'd be good to go. And
Yeah.
You are 4 seconds
and
ahead.
being able to do the tricks and being able to do like the barrel rolls and the flips, it was
The buoy
amazing.
thing is something that I wanted to talk about. Raph, I want to get to all the research that you did this week as well,
Yeah.
but I will just segue right into this because you mentioned that. One of the most interesting things about Wave Race is that it is a racing game with no track.
Right.
There
Yeah.
is no track.
visible
There
track,
is
yeah.
water for you to be
Yeah.
on. But for the most part, the buoys tell you where you need to go because, as Mr. Vanacore stated, not only do you have to get the buoys in order to get your wave racer to go as fast as it possibly can, there is a number of buoys that you are allowed to miss before you drop out of a race, period.
Right.
And so you do have to find the buoys and get them. But I was playing it with Raph, and I said it's hard because there's no track. And my girlfriend said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, normally in a racing game, if you look down, there will be a portion of the screen that is gray, and that's called the road. But in this game, it's just all blue. There's no, I can go left, I can go right. I'm basically having to swivel my head around to look for the buoys to know where the track is, regardless of the general shape that the course that I've chosen has." And I don't know, that was just another thing where I just went, so interesting. It's a race game with no track. That's so bizarre.
It's no track, and then on top of that, those waves that you guys keep on mentioning just show up, and they make like these obstacles that aren't always kind of there. It's like
totally different ballpark.
Yeah, so
Right.
it felt almost procedurally generated, and I did some research on it, and it's not. So the waves apparently are in fixed positions, but they only actually show up. They only render these waves in when you're within like a few feet. So you can actually test this out. You can go and sit by a buoy. You could see the buoy bobbing up and down. In the distance, you look at the buoys, they're not bobbing up and down because there's no waves around them.
Yeah, it's not like a procedurally generated, fully fluid world. And so that becomes a strategy of the race, knowing where those waves are coming in, which is kind of cool and realistic because you would kind of see that tide or whatever else too. Part of the game that we never really got into a lot of, I'm sure you did, Matt, because you were so little, but was using those waves to help you boost into turns and hitting them at the right angles to kind of whip you around
you can make
the edge,
jumps.
which is what real
you can make
jet
jumps
skiers
over
do.
things with these waves.
Right. That's another note I had in here.
Dipping down and
the feel of this game feels like you are on a jet ski. I went to the Bahamas recently on a cruise, and we rode a jet ski on that trip. So that was like within the past year. So I have ridden a jet ski within the past year, and I can say with full confidence, like, because we're the turning. All right, let's get into this. The way you move in Wave Race 64, not only can you lean left and lean right to turn left and right, but you can lean forward and lean backwards.
Yeah.
This, I wrote in my notes, gives this game real big Excite Bike vibes.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. So we were talking about Excite Bike last week because we were talking about the World Championship, and I was saying I was the only one that knew how to play Excite Bike. I was the only one that knew that when the ramps come, you got to lift your nose up, and then when you get to the end of the ramp, you got to pull your nose down. Well, Wave Race 64 does the same thing, but it does it with the waves. So instead of going like, okay, there's a ramp coming up, you are having to be racing and then go, okay. Oh shit, wave. And then you got to like compensate like at the last minute sometime, unless you know, because I assume much like in real life, there's like parts of the water that are choppier on average. Like there's a level with a boat, and the waves around the boat in this evening level are much choppier when you get to the backside of the boat. And so you kind of have to slow your jet ski down, because if you don't, you will hit that fucking wave going a full speed and just fly off the track. Which totally, I was playing it, and Raph was playing it with a friend of his who's not really much of a gamer, and it was like, this feels like a game where you do not need to hold down the gas button the entire time.
Right.
It is a racing game that you kind of need to like feather the gas every now and then when you hit a big wave. You need to be paying attention to where your nose is pointed. Is it pointed down? Is it pointed up? And I don't know, it was just something that I had never seen in a racing game since. It kind of maybe a little bit reminded me of that Kirby racing game for the GameCube where you
Air Ride.
build up your momentum, Air Ride. It had vibes of that as well, but again, unlike anything control wise that I can think of to this day, and those waves and the controlling of the jet ski are all part of it. The pressing backwards to have your character lean backwards on the jet ski, which will allow you to pivot in place faster. So if you want to do like a big turn, like a wide one, you can lean forward and then turn left. But if you want to like turn on a dime, you can lift the front of your jet ski up and pivot like a canoe basically and twist yourself so that you can turn on a dime. Something that before we realized that was a thing was just fucking us up so hard when me and Raph were trying to race and we're just like, these things are outrageous. You can't control them.
I thought at first the game was very unintuitive, and then after a few, you kind of have to get used to the way that the jet ski controls. But once you do, it becomes very much second nature. You just easily, as you're doing a turn, you pull back on the joystick. It's like, that only makes sense. That I'm going to lean into the turn. That's how jet skis work. Dude, this game, man, it slaps, man.
Another interesting thing about the jet skis that I wanted to point out, that was something that I was like, oh, this is different than Mario Kart, and something I was not aware of because I probably did not fuck with it at all as a child. So when you pick your wave racer, there are 4 of them, and there's no difference between it. It basically might as well say like, pick your color. Like, because it's you want to be lady white, you want to be male white, brown, or fat. Or are your 4 choices of racer.
I identify with fat.
When it the customization of your jet skis comes after you pick who you want to be, and there's basically, do you want normal jet ski or custom jet ski? And below these choices are just 3 bars. There's one that there's 3 sliding bars, I should say. And the sliders go like basically acceleration, top speed is a slider. There's the controlling, tight versus loose, and then the feel of heavy versus light. And if you just pick normal, you just pick a jet ski that is in the dead center of all of these sliders. But me and Raph realized, do not do that. Do not pick the normal jet ski. It is not very good to have all of your stats.
To customize your stats.
But as we got into the granular control of it, I was like, this in a way is better than Mario Kart 8, where in which you have to cycle through all the different parts and you go, well, I like these tires because they give me more acceleration. Oh, but they take away my handling. So now I got to find a car. And I'm like doing a puzzle to figure out how to figure. Yeah. And it turns out the best cart is just like makes me look like a caterpillar child. And I'm just like, well, I hate this. I don't want to look like this. You know what I mean?
Stupid. I don't like it.
I like just adjusting the individual values and only having 3 individual values to change. That felt really good.
It was a lot easier. The customization of your stats of your jet ski in Wave Race to me was like, this is nice. Cause I was like, I like a high top speed, like loose controlling, but heavy like wave racer. And then like Raph does not like that. He goes in the opposite direction. It was just something cool. I wanted to mention because I was just like, man, I did not do this at all as a child. And this is really, really like makes the game playable. So that my fucking jet ski is not like turning on a dime. Like I like it looser.
I liked it, I liked mine turning on a dime and a little bit higher on the top end with the speed.
That's cool.
Dude, this game is really well designed.
Yeah.
And I found out that one of the designers for this game actually designed Super Mario Brothers 3. And that's probably why it's so damn well designed.
Well, it was Miyamoto's team that made this game, so lots of guys had the same hand in it.
Katsuya Iguchi.
One of the directors, is the director of Star Fox.
Yeah.
And Animal Crossing, I believe. So
yeah, some of the Animal Crossing games.
It's like we haven't had one since when did you say? 18 years ago or something? Like
it was 2001.
I don't see why this shouldn't be a
Wave
staple. Why this shouldn't be a staple prospect for.
It's been over 20 years. Maybe it was a 90s thing. Like extreme sports were cool. Like what was the other coolest game besides the obvious like Mario and Ocarina of Time and Star Fox? The other coolest game on the N64? 1080 snowboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of the coolest N64 games, and it was another
Which this
extreme
game
sports game.
influenced.
But you know what I
This
mean?
game
Like, other
influenced
than
that
the
game
obvious
heavily.
kind of
Yeah.
genres, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. The last thing that I wanted to touch on
GoldenEye.
that I almost busted out the snob hat for is the music in this game. I already played the
Yes.
intro music for you, which is that amazing ba da ba 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 ba. So composed by Kazumi Totaka. Raph did some interesting research on this composer because he's been working with
Oh,
Nintendo for a hot minute and continues to, I believe. Would you
Oh
like
yeah.
to elaborate on your little story that you told me before we started?
Yeah, dude. No. So this guy actually has worked on some of the biggest names. So I mean, he worked on Super Mario Land 2, Six Golden Coins. Worked on Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. He worked on Wii Sports, which is the one that made me think of this game the most. He's done some arrangements for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing. Obviously, the director also worked on Animal Crossing. So there you go. And really interesting thing about this guy, he also is the voice actor for Yoshi, Captain Olimar, Birdo, and the Shy Guy from 1997 to 2002. So he's been at Nintendo for a minute. But the cool thing about this guy is that he has Easter eggs that he puts in all of his games, and it's the Totaka song. It's a secret 19-note tune that exists in almost every single game that he makes. As far as I know, yeah, you can play the video. This is the tune you watch. So here. And you can hear it in other videos.
So this is Mario Paint.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But this goes way later as well.
Right. This
We're
goes
talking,
on
like,
up
all
until the
the
modern
way-
Animal Crossing games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's in all of them. So this game in particular is one that people haven't found Totaka's song yet.
I love this.
Nobody knows if it is in
What?
Wave Race 64
That's
because he was the
awesome.
composer for it. But it's in just about every single game that he's composed for. So I found a video as I was looking through doing a deep dive on this. I found a video that claimed to have found it. All right. So I start
Cool.
listening. I start watching it. This video is pretty long. And about 1:40 into it, it's and it goes through these very complex steps as to how to get to the song. Gets to the end of the race, the music starts playing, and then sure enough, I got fucking rickrolled.
It just starts playing "Never Gonna Give You Up" by Rick Astley.
But yes, it just starts playing Rick Astley. Which, by the way, the Rick Astley, I
Perfect.
put the video in the
Perfect.
chat if you want to watch
The
it
mix
later
with
at
the
some
Wave
point.
Race song is good. It's really
It actually
good.
fits in really well.
Doesn't your AI companion scan ahead for Rick rolls at the end of videos and warn you? This video
Nobody
has
should.
a Rick
No,
roll coming on.
unfortunately,
Nobody
I got
should.
no smart AI companion. No.
Elon Musk, if you make Grok able to scan videos and flag for potential Rick rolls, you are the savior of our time.
It's funny that you mentioned the music rap, because when I was looking back at I loved, one of my favorite things to do when we do games like this is I love to look back at like old GamePro reviews and old, like,
Right.
they used to split them out.
The
Gameplay,
faces,
graphics,
the
sound,
faces
this,
ratings.
with the
Yeah.
excited down to woo,
Yeah.
And the music in this game did not get very good reviews because they just thought it was too much of a step back from like what the Super Nintendo had become, kind of capable of. But I think it
Really?
fits the motif
I'm
of the type of
surprised.
game perfect. Yeah.
Oh,
This
yeah.
game and Mario 64 for me, like, kind of like pushed the vaporwave movement in.
That's what I was
in,
just
like,
about to say. There
yeah,
are
it's
so
vaporwave,
many
you know?
modern artists nowadays that want this aesthetic, both
Right.
visually and auditorily. I'm going to play a couple amazing songs. This is the
Yes.
training level Dolphin Park. Can you hear it?
Ooh.
I remember
This is Dolphin Park. This is the area, if before you start a championship mode, the first player mode, it says, do you want to learn how to play the game first? And then you get dropped in this separate area with a dolphin, and then a very slow scrolling text in the bottom says shit that you had no idea was possible. Like, did you know you could do a backflip? Did you know you could do a barrel roll? Did you know you could do a handstand? Did you know you could ride on your head?
Did you know that this song
all this
bops?
crazy shit.
Do
All to this awesome city pop adjacent.
you know
like,
Maria Takeuchi's about to come and sing to you?
that's what I feel like.
Yeah.
That's why, as far as being out of place, I guess it just wasn't in style yet in America. But
God, they
now,
were so wrong
all right,
about the soundtrack.
I think
Right.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
there's
seriously.
It's so
there's
good.
one more level that takes place on a lake because almost all the
Wave
levels take place
race.
in the sea.
Drake Lake or
But
something
this
like
one, Drake Lake, which is an amazing name, first of all. This is Drake Lake. Get the fuck out of here. Okay.
This is good.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Maximum power.
I think
You
this
were
shit
about 4
slaps.
seconds
I
ahead.
love the vibe of this, paired with the very lo-fi aesthetic of the whole thing, but the shimmering blue water.
So
The levels
good.
take place at different times of day, so Drake Lake takes place like in the morning before the fog has cleared over a lake. And so they use the really shallow draw distance to their advantage because the whole thing takes place on a misty lake. So fantastic. I love it. I'm a huge fan of the
So
music
good.
in this game.
Very
So
nice.
good.
Wave Race 64. I think it's better than just okay. I think it's
Nah.
really, really fucking good, honestly.
Dude,
You
honestly,
can play it
man.
on the Nintendo Online 64 if you've got the Switch Online expansion pack thing. If you haven't played it in a while and you're looking for a 2-player racer to play with your friends, if you've never played it, definitely go try it. But Wave Race 64 is getting 2 thumbs up from me. How about you, gentlemen? Any closing thoughts on
GamePro
Wave Race?
style.
It gives me,
oh, yeah,
I'm going to
dude.
give it 3 out of 4.
Dude, honestly, I'm gonna say I don't typically enjoy racing games all that much.
Same.
I'm not really a racing game guy,
Same.
but I found myself playing this last night by myself at like 1 a.m. It was a lot of fun. The chill vibes, the city pop inspired soundtrack, the really tight controls just makes the whole thing really fun and immersive. Man, I fucking love this game.
When you can say that about a
controls were so good.
30-year-old game, you know they did something right.
It holds up well.
Right.
If you have that Nintendo Switch Online subscription and you have access, if you've seen the Wave Race little panel in your menu and you're like, I wonder what that's like, do yourself a favor, give it a shot. It holds up great. You will not be disappointed. It's a great game.
It very much so lended itself to the analog joystick of the Nintendo 64 also.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. That is
Excellent
exactly
point.
true. And when I love it when a plan comes together. Like, what if we had an amazing idea and then we did it? Like,
Yeah,
what if,
right,
yeah, that's a fucking good idea, Nintendo.
Wow.
You should make a jet ski game that controls like nothing else because you've just pioneered a new stick on your controller that uses 8-way directions like nobody else has.
Now try stunt mode.
Fucking yeah, now do a barrel roll. And the time trials, we didn't even get into the times with the rings. As soon I don't remember this mode at all. And then the rings showed up and I went, yes, I do. Yep, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, so that upgraded version that they got in Japan, you got ghost saves you could do on your memory cards also for the
And we
time
always
trials.
talk about how much Japan loves re-releasing games, so I'm not surprised at that at all.
So there you go. Even Wave Race got a re-release.
We love you. All right, that is it for Wave Race 64. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back, do our What Else You Got, and wrap up our episode. We'll be right back.
Okay. Good. Okay. 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 Good. Okay.
Okay, we're back. We're back and we're ready for our What Else You Got, the final segment of every show where we bring to the table anything we would like, any TV show, video game, puppet theater, new
Have you been reading my
skits
notes?
that we have, anything like
Puppet
that. I'll go first as usual. Do we have enough time for me to do both my things? I think so.
Yep.
I'm going to do a game and a show. So the show I'll do first because I won't over explain it. The show that I started watching this week is an HBO show called Phantasma.
Oh yeah. Good stuff.
I'm not gonna. If you've ever seen the show Los Spookies, which is also a hit HBO show, it's an all South American cast about a bunch of
cool.
kids that have a business where they basically do scare tactics, but for real. Like, it's a fictionalized show, but that's the premise. Doesn't
That's
matter.
a
The
neat
point
idea.
is there's one actor from that show named Julio
Julio
Torres.
Torres.
Yes.
Yeah, Julio Torres. Yeah.
He plays a minor character in that show, but he steals the show. And so HBO gave him a movie called Problemista, which we also watched this past week. It's fucking incredible. It's amazing. It's about a young boy who comes to America because he wants to work for Hasbro. Watch that movie. So that's
neat.
incredible.
That's a neat
Then
premise.
HBO gives him a stand-up special after that. And then that whoops ass too. So then they said, fuck it. Here are the keys to your own show. And he gets this show called Fantasma, which I believe is Spanish for ghost.
It is, yeah.
And it is about he lives in a futuristic America that's also like a surreal fever dream, basically. Like
It's very skit based.
It's
Lots of skits.
It's like it feels like a bunch of separate skits, but there's an underlying current to the whole thing, which is that he's trying to get an ID, but like this super ID of the future that's called your proof of existence, and it's just it's your driver's license and your social security number and your passport and the proof that you completed high school, and like it's every form of ID in one, and everyone has one, and so if you don't have one, it's like, where's your proof of existence? And
you don't exist.
He doesn't have one. So the show is the underarching storyline is him trying to get that. So it's incredible. Go watch it. It's really silly. The other thing that I have played this week is Unraveled 2. Or I'm sorry, Unravel 2. If you guys remember this game, it's kind of old now. Mm-hmm. It is a 2018 EA game developed by some company called Coldwood Interactive. It's the sequel to the game Unraveled, which is like a platformer where you play as like we have a sock boy at home character, but he's comprised of red yarn. So EA makes this sequel in 2018, and I've been playing it with my girlfriend, couch co-op. It's pretty fun. It is a platformer that's like a non-scary Limbo. So it's you're just like regular platformers. You're moving left to right. There's jumping, but in the background, there's like a storyline going on, like about like these these orphaned children and
these orphaned infants.
They're like 12. But yeah, these orphans are running away from this like abusive home or something, and you're just sort of coincidentally in the foreground of this whole thing. And sometimes you interact with them and they interact with you. But yeah, you play as these two yarn characters. And so one of the main mechanics of it is that you two are connected by a piece of yarn. And so you can only get so far from each other. But so sometimes it's like difficult. It's
chained
like
together.
Sort of, it's chained together with a longer chain. But it has the chain together pull mechanic, because there are times when someone might fall and you need to pull them up. There's also, it's a puzzle game at heart. And so there are a lot of puzzles that involve like, okay, so this object is preventing us from getting to this area because our string is getting in the way. So how do we platform in such a way that our strings end up on the same side? There's a mechanic where you can purposefully tie your string to objects to pull them towards you, or to make like a kind of like a trapeze sort of deal. So you can walk across a wire on a particular area that's maybe too far for jumping. You can swing each other with the string. You can like throw it out like Spider-Man to like catch things and swing yourself. Pretty fun. It's easy enough for my girlfriend, who's not a major platformer gamer, to play, but also hard enough puzzle wise, where there was one that we were playing like yesterday, a particular puzzle where I was just like, I have no fucking clue how to, I've not like my girlfriend had to like, hold on, wait, hold on. It was just like, I'm legit dumbfounded. I don't know how the fuck to do this puzzle. But she ended up figuring it out. And then, jump over this. Now jump there. Oh, and then if I jump there and then pull this out with the string. So
I think I saw you guys solve that one, and I was like, "This
it
is
was
cool as hell."
electricity
Like,
based one. So yeah, there's like a fire level and electricity and water and bosses that you sort of fight. But yeah, we were playing that It Takes Two game that won that game award that year it came out,
Won
but it
Game of
has
the
that
Year.
weird storyline about like
Mhm.
parents getting divorced, and they're like,
Yeah.
maybe we should stay together for the children. And it was like, that's cringy. It's like, this is just a game where you play as two yarn guys having fun.
I'll take the yarn guys, please.
Yeah.
yes, Liz.
So Unravel 2. I shamefully play it on Game Pass. But yeah,
I
so
ain't
you've got
enjoying
Game
that.
Pass and you've got a girlfriend that you're trying to look for a new game to play, Unravel 2 is my suggestion. Buck, what else have you got for us this week?
Beat the main storyline quest in Dawn Trail.
Huzzah!
Final Fantasy 14.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Oh
And
man.
I can't talk about it because Venny hasn't yet.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
sorry.
But when the boop does the boop and then boop boop does the boop.
Everybody's fucking is what he's saying. There's a huge orgy at the end
Yeah,
of
That's
the game.
yeah, spoilers. Shut up.
This game is
beep, beep, beep.
intense.
More fun than that though. So we've been on family vacation, summer vacation, like a lot of us do, in the summertime. My son, little Megabuck, Rockman, is 13, and so this past summer he's been like, "Dad, I want to watch all those movies." Like, what do you mean you want to watch all those movies? All the movies everybody always talk about. I want to watch Terminator. I want to watch this. I want to watch, RoboCop. I want to watch, all those famous movies everybody's all seen. So we started watching, like, he saw Terminator 1 and 2 right before that Mortal Kombat T1000 news dropped. So he was like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
And so we're watching all these different movies. And I'm like, well, if we're going to watch Terminator 2, you have to watch another cinematic masterpiece starring Edward Furlong. And that's 1994's Brain Scan.
Yeah, dude. Featuring
man.
Primus. Yeah.
I love that movie. All right, it's a
I love that movie
13% on a Rotten Tomatoes, which is probably warranted.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
Raph, have you ever seen this movie, Mr. Vinicor? Have you ever seen this movie?
Yeah.
Say it again. What was it?
Brain Scan, starring Edward
Brain
Furlong,
Scan.
the kid from Terminator 2 and Pet Cemetery 2. He did like 3 movies in a
No,
row,
I've
huge
never
movies,
heard
and
of
like
this.
disappeared.
What is the name of
1994,
the
right?
guy who comes out of the game? What's his name?
Trickster.
What?
Trickster. It's the fucking so
You said-
90s. This movie
Benny's
is
not
the
wrong.
most 90s thing
It's
ever.
so
The
weird.
basic
It's
premise
got
is
hacking. It's got video games. It's got leather vests. It's got mohawks.
Boobies.
It's got a monster that you can
It's
talk
got
to
body
who's
horror,
wisecracky.
apparently.
It
Yeah.
does have some
what
body
is
horror.
going
yes.
on here?
The premise is in that mid-early 90s when all of us wanted to be the kid with like the really powerful Power Mac that could go on the internet and do all the cool things. This kid had
Hack
it.
the
Like,
mainframe.
he would talk to his computer to have it dial his friends on the phone, so he didn't have to get off his bed and stop reading Fangoria magazine to do it. Like
That's literally a description of a scene from the movie.
it happens in the
Oh,
movie.
dude.
Igor, dial 555-1-800-555-FEAR. Yes,
Yes, master. Yeah.
So the kid is playing like virtual reality computer games. He's played all the scary horror movies and his games, and his friend Kyle, damn it, Kyle, tells him about this game
I don't know who
called
that
Brain
is.
Scan. And he plays it. And the coolest thing about it, without watching it really, is like before M. Night Shyamalan was doing movies, this movie has more than one great twist in it, which I think
I'd say
saves
so
it.
too.
I think
I'd
it
say
saves
so.
it. It's not great. The acting's okay, but the writing's pretty cool. The soundtrack, you brought up Primus, but I had forgotten that all that other stuff, all the like during the scenes he's playing the game that are first person and all the creeping,
Yeah.
all the stuff. George S. Clinton.
Whoa!
All of the music
Whoa.
in between the
Whoa.
tracks.
That's hilarious.
So don't tell me that it was to dun.
I mostly
dun,
remember-
dun, dun.
Welcome to This World by Primus. And when,
Yeah.
when the crazy video game monster comes out and it's just like, hey, you want to do internet
Yeah.
drugs or whatever?
I had
Like-
that soundtrack as a kid.
Like all
teenager.
of the like dawn of VR, dawn of computer graphics,
Yes.
90s vibe. I mean, there's a certain like, okay, when first things at the time it's like, okay, this is fucking cool, this is crazy, but
Right.
it's the type of thing that we look back on and go, that I don't know that was really good at all.
Oh yeah, it was
No,
definitely a
yeah.
little cringy. Which was funny because
Oh,
right after
yeah,
watching
yeah.
like Terminator 2,
Whatever.
you were like, dang, some of these effects
It's
really hold up still.
it's
you know what?
whatever because I can't say anything because my favorite cringy movie is Street Fighter with Raul Julia and Jean Claude Van Damme.
Oh, but that's a
What,
masterpiece.
what's the movie with
It's not
Howie
cringy at all.
Mandel as the monster?
Little Monsters.
Oh, Little
This
Monsters.
okay,
Yeah.
Brain Scan is a horror movie, Little Monsters, basically.
Sure.
There you go. There
Sure.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with
And
the
it's
kid
and
from
it whoops
Terminator.
ass.
Bummer.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. What was what was your son's reaction to Brain Scan?
Exactly what you expect. Like that movie was. Oh, the ending was cool.
Edward Furlong is cool. Yeah,
You know what he
Edward
missed?
Furlong's cool. Yeah.
You know what was cool about it that I thought it was cool that he missed? He plays a couple discs in this game, and I won't spoil it, but in the first disc, it's all from a first-person perspective. And that's
Yeah.
arguably one of the coolest scenes in the movie. And then in the further discs, it's not from the first-person perspective. And he goes, I want the first-person perspective back. And I went, you know what? They should have done that. That would have been really cool.
That's awesome. Brain Scan, good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's probably free on YouTube or something.
Bet that wasn't
It's
on your
so-
bingo card this
easily.
week.
That's fucking tight. I
No,
love
yeah.
that.
I
that
think
you
we
brought
watched it
that.
on Tubi.
That's where we're at.
If it ain't on Tubi, it ain't shit. Raph, what have you got for us this week?
I got a couple of things, not gamer adjacent at all, but I ended up going and hanging out at the Florida Brewers Guild conference this week.
Fun.
I
week.
I got to drink some beer. I had a friend of mine that they were speaking as a speaker at one of the talks there, so I kind of got to hang out at an industry event that I'm not part of the industry. A lot of niche information. I'm not gonna lie. Part of it was not as fun as I expected, but I did get to drink a lot. And that was a lot of fun.
at exactly 247 degrees for 2.5
Oh man, it was a lot of stuff about running front of house stuff at bars.
Right.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I
just
think
stuff-
it's even worse than that, Buck.
yeah, it's just stuff that I just did. Like they were talking about point of sale systems, and I was like, wow, I don't give a fuck about
it's
this.
like work
Can I get some more
shit.
beer, please?
No, it's like work shit.
But I got to see my friends speak, and they did a fantastic job. They were on a panel about diversity and inclusion in the beer industry, which was pretty cool. The other thing is that I started playing a game this week that it's a little old. I actually decided to dive back into Tamriel.
Whoa.
It's not the
I saw
Tamriel
you
game
playing
that you expected.
That's
B-Rad
funny 'cause
was
we
sitting
pointed
here
that
with
out
me.
the other day.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what it
Raph's
was.
playing Morrowind.
I was playing Morrowind, baby.
Oh.
We were doing duo killer
Why?
and Dead by
What
Daylight.
happened? Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. The other day, I was like, I want to play Morrowind because I think I was playing Dread Delusion and it made me want to play Morrowind. And so I dove into Morrowind and I was like, man, this game is not. Skyrim plays better, sure. But this game has atmosphere. Like it is just dripping with
That's
atmosphere.
what everyone always says, and I've never played it, and I'm like, I don't
It's
know if I.
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough for a modern gamer. The movement speed is very slow, but it gets faster as you play. Your character, it's very RPG like. If you swing with your sword, you could be aiming right at them and still miss because your dice rolls are off.
Oh.
Right? So, and then as your character gets better at swinging their weapon, then you actually start making the physical hits, and it turns more into like
As
Skyrim
they
sort
start
of combat.
swinging their way.
Level
Right,
100,
you gotta
not
get better
missing.
at swinging your sword. But dude, it's the music, it's what the limitations of the hardware at the time made them have to do, like the low draw distance. It's very misty in Vardenfell, and it kind of has this whole vibe to it. Instead of your typical fantasy setting, it's like weird islands with like silt rivers and mushrooms growing everywhere, like giant mushrooms all over the place. These weird alien insect like creatures that they ride on to get from city to city. Really cool game. Man, I haven't played Morrowind in a while, but I'm having a blast.
Fuck yeah.
I always love Raph's
when
what
you get
else
a
you
wild
got.
hair.
Drank beer.
Raph's what else you got? I played this obscure game from. I'm no better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's obscure.
I watched Brain Scan. I got nothing.
Yeah, you about to say you brought,
You thought- yeah, you
brought a fucking Norton deep cut on
Yeah.
us. That was Furlong, not Edward Norton. Edward
Yeah.
Furlong, a Furlong deep cut. Mr. Vinicor, have you managed to do anything else this week?
Not too much, honestly. Been watching the Olympics with the wife. The Olympic Games are going on right now. In 2024. If you're not if you're not watching this like right when
If you're
we
in the
drop it. So we're still
future.
in the future. Like we're still in the middle of the 2024 Olympics right now. So we've been doing a lot of that. And Buck mentioned it a little earlier. Dead by Daylight, which is the asymmetrical spooky tag horror game that me and Buck really like to play.
Spooky tag.
They launched a special mode where if you know the game at all, there's 2 killers and 8 survivors. It's usually 1
Yeah.
killer and 4 survivors. So, and it blew the game up. Everybody's enjoying it. It's a blast. It's got 5 days left on the clock, and we're hoping that it comes back. But that's been a lot of fun. We had a full 8 stack in our Discord the other day, just run around being crazy. He's coming! He's coming!
Survivor
It's so chaotic and fun. Yeah.
Imagine
we're
Dead by
doing
Daylight,
the-
but Mario Party.
All the
Yeah,
that's a lot of people.
like all the perks go away, all the loadouts go away. It's just 4 roles to pick from. Pick A, B, C, D. That's it. It simplifies
All
a
the-
lot of stuff.
are all the killers available to choose from in that mode, or do they?
Just 5.
Only 5 of them.
Interesting,
Only
because we
5 of
talked
them.
about last week this game mode, but I didn't. I thought about that question because I was like, that's really cool. But so, which 5 killers are on the roster?
It's
Do you know
5
off
of
the
the
top of your
really
head?
early ones. There's Trapper, which he sets bear traps, so you can get caught. There's Wraith, which you can turn invisible. The Nurse, who can blink and teleport. Yeah, Buck is always our Trapper.
I play as
Huntress,
Naughty
who was
Bear
a fan
Trapper.
favorite. She's one of the Huntress is one of the most popular killers in the game. She could throw hatchets and do damage from a range. And then the final one is Hillbilly,
Hillbilly.
who has a chainsaw and he can like jet across the map with the chainsaw and like a mad dash.
So it's none of the licensed things. It's only
none of the
the
licensed killers.
Missing a
not
lot
that
of
they
them. I
couldn't
think they
do
started
it,
at the beginning
it's
to
not
balance them.
it's not a licensing thing either. It's not that they couldn't have used the licensed killers for the
Right.
game mode, but it's hard to rebalance a game. Like they
Right, yeah.
removed hooking, which is like one of the main mechanics of how the killers win. But yeah, lots of fun. That's what we've been doing. Other than the
Who's your
Olympics.
favorite killer to play as?
Oh, I like the Wraith, because he can turn invisible and he moves very fast. And you have this magic bell that he bangs on the bell and uncloaks and catches it by surprise. He's like one of the few killers that can really jump scare you. So
Yeah.
he's a lot of
Still
fun.
to this day, jump scares me, just like Ghostface.
Michael
I have
Myers
a skin. Yes.
is
Jump
the,
I have a,
scareable.
I have a,
he's,
yeah,
he
he's jump
is
scare the
the
crap out of you.
most jump scare character in the whole game because he can see through walls with certain builds. He's got wall hacks and he can.
And he'll just come around the
frighten
corner
you.
making no noise, and you'll turn your camera and be like, "Oh God, he's right there."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
He's staring
behavior,
at
the
me,
guys that
played
made
that game.
the
I
what?
was gonna say you guys have played that game for 100 million hours and you're still scared. I there's no chance
That's
I could play.
part
it.
of the
There's
fun.
no- so I'd be
The,
paralyzed
It's
for
not
fear.
it's not scary. It's like, oh, surprise. It's like a
Right.
sense of like, oh my god, he's right there,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a skin
Just
for the
one
Trapper that's
day.
made by Behavior. The same developers made that game, Naughty Bear. Did you guys ever play that PS3 game?
Which
from
one?
15 years. Naughty Bear.
Naughty Bear.
Naughty Bear.
Before
Sounds
Dead by
familiar, but I
Daylight, that's a
can't-
game they made. You basically play as a serial killer teddy bear. That's the game.
Cool.
It's a PS3 game. They made that a skin for the Trapper. So when we play together, I'm walking around
Oh.
as this giant murderous teddy bear.
Fun,
That to
I
me is
like that.
terrifying. I'm playing on the map. I'm like, oh God, it's the bear.
Well, that does it for our show. We will end it there. Thank you so much for listening or watching, you out there. I'm talking to you. Why don't you do us a huge favor and like and subscribe? Like and subscribe. I was going to like this video, subscribe to the channel. There you go. And if you are just listening on Spotify, why don't you jump on over to YouTube? I cut up little shorts. You can see our beautiful faces and see some game footage, game clips, stuff like that I put in here for fun. You can also email us. Listen, last week I opened the floodgates. We want your emails. We want you to send us questions that you have about retro game collecting, retro game repair, retro game hunting, retro game suggestions, any of those things. We want you to send us an email for us to read and answer on the show. So email us at gametreasurepodcast@gmail.com. You can find links to all that stuff and more at our linktree /the GTP. We're even talking about maybe doing some streaming. You guys can hang out with us and make fun of us and watch us play video games. We want to
Low-hanging
thank
fruit.
Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find them on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you can find music on the internet. And I think their tour is still going on. So Google that. They might be coming to a town near you. And of course, we would like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com, owned and operated by the Megabuck himself. Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends you custom boxes of retro video games every month. Simply make your profile at www.retrogametreasure.com. Tell them what video game systems you have, what video game genres you like, and even what video games you already own. And then you simply wait, and every month you will receive a custom box of nostalgia filled with delicious retro video games that have been cleaned and resurfaced that now belong to you, sir. And they are ready for you to play right now.
I
Go
didn't know
now
you
to
cleaned
Retro
and
Game
resurfaced
Treasure.
them, Buck.
Oh yeah, that means you never get home with a copy of Mario and the 6
That's awesome.
golden coins and put it in your analog pocket and then turn it on and then it goes and then you go, oh Jesus, and you have to take it out immediately and realize that you almost broke your analog pocket with a dusty copy of fucking Mario Land and the 6 golden coins. Whew, close one. RetroGameTreasure.com. You don't have to worry about any of that. None of the shopping and none of the cleaning. Obsessed with video games since 1985. My name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure podcast. It's so bad.
It's so
So bad.